In this video, I'll be showing you how to make the letter M using a rubber band loom. I will be using a rainbow loom, but you can use any brand of loom that has the pins set up in a straight row. We're only going to be working with one row of pins, so I have removed the other two, but if you have a loom where the pins don't come off, that's perfectly fine. You're going to need 19 rubber bands in order to make this letter. So you want to start with the arrows facing away from you, and for every band that I put on, I'm going to double it. So in order to do that, what you want to do is just place the band on your hook, twist, and then put it back on. That will double it. I'm going to start on the end here, and what I'm going to do is place 5 rubber bands working up the loom. So they're just going to go one right after the other. So that's my first one. I'm going to do this 4 more times. And as you're placing these on the loom, you want to push the bands down to the bottom of the pin because we're going to add another layer on top. So that was my 4th band. I'm going to do one more. And now I'm going to go back to the start with the arrows still facing away from me. And this time I'm going to put 11 rubber bands up the length of the loom. So again, I'm starting on the end. And they're always just going one right after the other. And you don't really have to push these down too hard, but you will have to push it down just a little bit in order to have room to put your next band on. So I've gone the length of 5 pins because I'm now even with that lower row. I'm going to continue on until I've done 11 rubber bands. Some people like to use their fingers to double the bands. So whichever method you find the easiest for you should stick with. Now I have one more rubber band to put on. It's going to be 1 pin short from the end of the loom. It's going to be my 11th band. I have to make sure that they both get on there. And so now on this very last pin where I just ended, I want to place a cap band. So in order to do that, I'm going to quadruple it. I want to place it on my hook, twist, put it back on, twist, put it back on, twist, and put it back on. So now you can see there are 4 bands on the hook. I'm going to place it right on the top of this last pin. It's going to be tight. And now I'm going to turn my loom around so the arrows are now facing towards me. And I'm going to start looping the bands, and I want to go the length of 5 rubber bands. So I'm going to go down through this end pin, push back on the top 4 bands, that's the cap band that we just placed on, grabbing these 2 lower bands, I'm going to hold this cap band in place so it doesn't come off, and move these bands forward. And I'm just going to continue working up until I've gone the length of 5 rubber bands. So that was my 3rd one. And that was the 4th. And now one more for the 5th. And now what I want to do is remove the bands that I just looped, but I want the one where I ended to still stay on. So I'm going to place my thumb over top of that. I'm going to reach my hook down through this cap band at the end, and I'm going to carefully pull these off. And now I want to slide this band to the left. It's going to make a 180-degree turn, so it's going all the way back around here on itself. And what I want to happen is I want the loop that is closest to the pin, it was the band that was down here, I want it to go up here. So in order to do this, I'm going to stretch this out, and you can see that circle right here. That's what we want to get on this loop. So I'm going to reach my hook down through this circle, and I'm going to move it up and get it on this pin above here. And now I want to take this part that's hanging off and move it slightly out and to the left. And now I'm going to go the length of 3 bands. I'm going to loop. And the reason that I did this by putting this back on is it's going to make the bands stick closer together where the joints are, because otherwise they want to spread out from each other and your M gets really wide and it just doesn't look as well. So I'm reaching down through the end here. Again, I'm going to push back on the top 4 bands. I'm grabbing the bottom 2 and I'm going to hold this in place. I'll pull them out and move them ahead. And if you need to, you can push these bands down that are on this pin because there's going to be a lot of them. And now on this pin, you can see that we have this lower layer of bands. And we don't want to do anything to those. So these bottom 2 bands, you're leaving alone. I don't know if you can see that. So you're going to reach your hook down inside, and all you're going to do is grab the top 2 bands. You're leaving the lower 2 on. You're going to pull them out and move them forward. And now again, I'm reaching down, I'm grabbing just those top 2 and moving them forward. So now I've just looped the length of 3 rubber bands. So I want to put my thumb where I just left off here. I'm putting my hook down through the other side. I'm going to pull these off. It's going to be tight. And now what I'm going to do is take all of this and slide it over to the right. And again, I want the band that was below to now go up above, so I'm going to stretch this out till I see that loop. I'm going to put my hook in through the middle of it and move it up and place it right on the top of the pin here. And now once again, I'm going to go the length of 3 rubber bands. It's going to take me to the top of this row here. Again, I'm not doing anything with the bottom bands. I'm pushing back on the top 4, grabbing those next 2 in line, pulling them out and forward. And now again, I'm just taking the top 2 bands, going up to the top here. And now what I want to do is put my thumb, I'm going to put it on the second pin down from the top of the loom. I want all of these lower bands to come off that I just looped. It's actually just going to be 2 pins. I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to leave it on these last 2 pins. I'm going to leave it looped. And now I'm going to go down to the last rubber band that's closest to me. I'm going to place another cap band on. It's going to be quadrupled once again. Going to place it right on the top. And then finally I'm going to work my way up here, looping this last row of rubber bands. So I'm going down through, grabbing just the bottom 2, And I'm just going to work my way up. And now it's going to be a lot of bands on this one. You're going down through and pulling these up. And finally at the top, what you want to do is take your hook, go down through all of these rubber bands, push it out to the side, take this last rubber band and pull it up through, put this end back on your hook, and now you can carefully remove the rest of this. And now you want to take the part of the band that's closest to the end of your hook, loop it through the other band, and pull tightly. It's going to make a slip knot. And then here is your letter M. Now you might have to adjust it a little bit. You want to straighten these out as best as you can, just to make it look a little bit neater. And then here it is in the middle. And there is your letter M. And here is another one that I made in dark blue. So you may find this letter a little bit more difficult than some of the previous letters because of having to put bands that were already looped back on the pins. But if you don't do that, I can give you an example. This is a letter V that I made, and you can see how wide that is if you don't do something to make them be more compact and pushed together at the top. And so if you can picture this times 2, that's how wide your M would be. So that's why I came up with this way. So you can leave me comments on YouTube or Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on all of my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thank you!